Hello and welcome to Empowered the podcast. I am super excited as always for my guest, and today's guest is Jacqui Brauman. She is the founder and CEO of Legally Wise Women. It's an online community helping women access justice through increasing their legal literacy through 4 pillars: support, skill, power, and wisdom. So excited for this conversation. Jacqui has also been an award-winning lawyer. She's been running a law firm for over a decade. She is an accredited specialist with the Law Institute of Victoria. She is a mediator and collaboratively trained dispute resolution practitioner and an author of 3 legal guides. So welcome, Jacqui. Thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about, and you also have a podcast, Legally Wise Women, correct?
I do. Thank you, Linda.
Oh,
It
you're
does sound like a
welcome.
lot when you say all those things.
Yes.
And of course, I'm in Australia, which you'll hear from my accent. Yes, Applied Wisdom is the name of the podcast that Legally Wise Women,
Okay.
runs. And so I mean, it sounds like I'm a lot of things, and I suppose I have done a lot of things over time, but I'm still, just me at the core, and we chip away at what we, think we want to do, and then we develop ourselves and we continue to grow, and that's been my pathway very much. I started with law, and I then thought, well, at some point I'm going to go into business. So I also did accounting while I was practicing as a young lawyer. And then I did go into business and I was running the firm. And then I was like, well, I want to niche down. And so I did a master's degree in applied law and then went down the pathway of becoming a specialist. And then I was like, I'm still doing traditional litigation. This doesn't feel good. Like, I wanted to help people and serve people. That's why I wanted to do law in the first place. But litigation seems to harm people more. And so I was like, well, how do we do this better? And so I went down the trail of looking at being a collaborative practitioner and then alternative dispute resolution. And so, we follow our little pings and our pathways along the way, and it just builds who we are. And then, still looking for fulfillment, because I still don't feel like I'm truly serving. And I came across this statistic a few years ago that in a period of time of 5 years of women who face a legal challenge, 83% of those women do not get professional advice at all. And I'm like, here I am, like, I'm not a scary person. I'm so approachable. I'm putting out so much education, and particularly focusing on women. And yet I know there's still so much fear out there. And so what is the legal industry doing wrong? And so, finally coming around to thinking, well, there's got to be a better way of doing it. And so, yeah, Legally Wise Women is now my passion project, and hopefully going to change a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us a little bit about it. Like, how does it meet monthly, or what
Yeah.
exactly is it? And then also I want to talk
Yeah.
about your legal guides that you created. And then also number one question is, what is your litigation? What is your expertise or specialty in what you're doing at the law firm? And like what is it? Is it family law, or what is?
So I may as well start with your last question and move
Okay,
backwards, because it
sure.
sort of goes in order.
Okay.
So my expertise is in wills and estates. So that's where my specialty is. So yes, it deals with families, but it's primarily death. So
Right.
I do a lot of planning for death, a lot of estate planning. I do a lot of deceased estate administration after someone's passed away. I do a lot of business succession planning and structuring and restructuring. And I do a lot of families who then fight over the money after someone passes away. So all those things. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And so then the guides that I wrote are very much in line with that sort of work. So the first one I wrote was in case of emergency, and it is for parents of young children who haven't done their estate planning and don't know how to make sure inheritance for their kid goes to the right place and is protected. So that was the first one. The second one I wrote was about our digital estate, because what we do these days is have so many things online. We've got cloud storage all over the place. You know, people like you and I, particularly entrepreneurs, we're developing content, we're writing, we have so much copyrighted valuable material, but it's all stored in a place where our family probably can't access it if something happened to us, let alone, you know, all our photos on Facebook and all these other places. You know, how do people gather all this stuff back and make sure that they've still got the value of all that after you pass away? So I wrote a guide around how to manage your digital estate. And then the third one was coming back again to, I call it the sandwich generation, which is the generation of people who have young adult children who are starting to have families, and they also have their aging parents. So they're sandwiched between the two generations. They know if something happens to one of their children that they're going to end up raising their grandchildren. They know that they're worried about their own parents and they have to start managing their own parents. So it's about how to make sure both sides are, you know, going to work if something happens.
What is that one called? What was that one called?
Sandwich generation.
Oh, that's cute. That's a great name.
Yes.
So where are
those
these
the
guys?
guides.
Like, where are they available online? And it's only for Australian people, right? Because it's
That's
legal.
right. It's Australian law. And
Right.
yes, they're on Amazon and all the places.
Okay.
But I mean, the intention of it there and the thought process may help an international audience as well, because it's so cheap. But yeah, the law is obviously very different in Australia to the US. So yeah, those are, I suppose, going backwards through your questions. And then what is Legally Wise Women? Well, it is an online community. It's not Australian focused. It is focused on empowering women to access legal services. So it's consumer education. And wherever you access legal services, we have fear. We don't know how lawyers charge. We don't know how to find and hire the right lawyer. We don't know where to start. And so I can help women anywhere in the globe to start empowering themselves to learn these things and take away some of the fear of taking that first step. So it has a lot of that. It also has a lot of negotiating for yourself. So those sorts of skills. It teaches you how to engage with a lawyer as well. So you can do an unbundled process with a lawyer. You don't have to hand your life and your matter over to a lawyer for them to run off and spend tens of thousands of dollars of your money. You can project manage it, and how to do that, and how to have conversations with your lawyer even. So a whole lot of skill building, but then there's a lot of intention setting stuff there. And you and I have talked about this a fair bit too, about having focus, knowing what you want, energetically setting that intention, because it actually works when you have a legal challenge as well. Like, this is not just manifesting money in our lives. This is also manifesting the outcome that we want for our lives, you know, getting through something with integrity without causing more harm, but at the same time, not taking any shit. So it's, you know, that's very much what it's about, keeping women in their power, educating them, getting them to have a better experience and actually engage in a way that'll get them a good result.
Oh, it's so good. It's such a needed thing. I mean, I love it. I love what you're doing to educate women. It is powerful, because I think there's people out there that don't realize that you can have a free consultation with a lawyer, like all the time, you know? And I remember talking to this one girl who had a landlord issue. And I said, you know, you can call a lawyer and ask advice for free consultations. And so people don't realize that they think they have to pay them, you know? And so I love that. So tell us more about the Legally Wise Women. So you said it's not specifically, so it's all over the world. Anyone can join.
Yeah.
And is it something you're paying, like you join and you get what you need and you go away, or do you stay in the community? Okay.
It is a community. So you can pay by the month, but it's, you know, leave at any time. So there's the community component where you also get some support too. And I do something every week in terms of being able to have some live access. So I do a Q&A every second week, so people can pre-submit their questions. They get the recording of the Q&A, but they can come along live and actually ask me. So it's a way of getting free advice.
Hmm.
And then between those, I also do an intention setting evening as well. So more like a women's circle where those who want to actually come together and interact can. And we do that deep focus on what are my true intentions and reset. And it's a very much of an energetic sort of space. And then I do a power check-in as well. So there's something every week which is live with me in that community. And yeah, the community is on an online platform, of course. There's an app and all those things. I also put in other resources, so skill building videos. I do a webinar once a month that is free, but that then goes in as a recording for the community members. And I also do other bonus content with other experts that I bring in, people like divorce coaches, financial planners, mediators. So people in my network that I bring in to help educate further. So
That's
yes,
excellent.
it's all in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, your expertise is, wills and estates, and then there could be someone that has, a divorce situation. So you're bringing in experts, and you're probably knowledgeable about all of the things. So where do you find how do people find out about your Legally Wise Women? Like, I'm curious.
Yes, well, I've got to get out and talk to people as we do in business, don't we? So thank you for having me on the podcast.
My pleasure.
But yeah, primarily, so I'm using Meetup heavily, that online space. So my free webinars are all up there, so you can find them on Meetup. And of course, Facebook, I've got a free group on Facebook as well, which is a great place to start. So yeah, it's the social media places where you post the free content and people start to trust you, and whether they want to engage with you or not, because not everyone's for everyone, and I get that. I am Australian, and so an international crowd might be a bit reluctant to see what they can get out of me. I can also be pretty direct. So, again, like if you want someone more nurturing, I'm not necessarily going to hold your hand. Like I'm going to walk beside you and empower you, but I'm not going to give you cuddles.
Yeah, but I mean, it's it's like when you go on a listing appointment in real estate, and like people are like, oh, you're aggressive or something. Well, don't you want an aggressive realtor? Or, it's like do they want a soft, they want a strong attorney, right? When you're hiring a lawyer, you want somebody who's, direct and, has,
that's right.
So,
but I'm also modeling
Yeah.
the confidence and the empowerment that I think
Yeah.
women need to engage.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I'm going to encourage people to step up and not to be sorry or unforgiving or oh, why has this happened to me, and get out of the victim, because we speak about this too. We have more control over our life than we believe, and it is how we show up. And so I am showing up how I think people need to show up.
So good. That is like such a giant nugget you just gave, because I mean, everyone has a story, and victim stories it's not a powerful place to be. And I love what you just said. So tell us, when you went into law, what made you choose wills and estates? Just curious.
Oh, yes. So that's another interesting story, because I was doing a lot of family law as well, and property and things like that too. And the family law stuff can be really draining personally, because you do take it on. Like you really want a good outcome, but often, there's, really high conflict. And there's kids.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend. I have a friend who is a lawyer, and it's very toxic. It's very, family law, and I met her in Michigan.
Yeah.
She's in New York, but it's so, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, because you have to think about your own self-care. And so I was also thinking, well, what's an area of the law that can be more proactive? And that's very much wills and estates, because you get in and you do some really good work with estate planning so that people don't fight later. If a lawyer does a really mediocre job in estate planning, it's setting it up for a fight later. So let's do our good work and
Mhm.
it's cheaper if you do it at the front end well as well. So I was
Yeah,
very much about prevention rather than cure, just like in medicine. You do the things to keep yourself well, and then you don't have the problems later.
exactly.
So I thought that the estate planning space would be really empowering. But there was also this case that I came across that really instigated me wanting to do better work. It wasn't a case I was directly involved with. I had a friend who was prosecuting at the time. So she was prosecuting this woman who'd gone through a red light and killed a young couple.
Ugh.
There was no drug and alcohol involved. It was just literally a brain fart. And this woman ran a red light. It resulted in this young couple dying. So horrendous situation. So it had been through the prosecution process, it was coming up to sentencing. And in Australia, the victims get to put in a victim impact statement to take in regard to sentencing. So the family who were left over after this young couple had died put in their victim statements. There was 2 young children of this young couple. And for the last 12 to 18 months, however long it had taken, those children had been in and out of the family court because their respective grandparents hated each other, and they were fighting over those children and the money for those children. And I just thought, my God, if that young couple just had the most simple will, pointing out who the guardian was going to be, those children are now suffering. They've lost their parents and now they're walking on eggshells between their grandparents. I just thought, this is just really bad work, really bad. And
Yeah, I
so
have chills listening to
oh,
that. I have chills.
yes.
Yeah, that's so horrible for those kids. Oh my God. Those are the victims. Those are the true victims, the kids.
Yeah, that's right. And so how as a lawyer can I do less harm as well? Because lawyers do often create a lot of harm, even though that's not our intention. And so I'm just much more conscious of that. And I thought, okay, I can do some good work in that space.
I love that. I love that. So, what else would you like to share? Tell us about the podcast.
Oh, yes. Well, applied wisdom is also a place where I can draw on other people's learnings as well, of course, because isn't it great just to have really deep conversations? So
Yeah.
it's really rewarding for me, for starters. But I get to dive deeper into those 4 pillars of Legally Wise. So I bring on someone and we do a skill podcast episode. I bring on someone, we do a support episode. With you, we've done a wisdom episode because we very much dived into the energetics of things. And so I get to focus on those 4 pillars and dive deeper and really bring in some more education and different viewpoints from my own as well. Because, we listen to people and sometimes it doesn't land unless we hear it a particular way. So hearing it from others really helps too. But I also want people to think a little bit broader, because one of the things I always say is the challenges in our lives are our greatest chance for transformation. And why not think of a legal challenge as a chance to learn and transform ourselves? Because we take on a health challenge often, and we learn and grow from it, just like you have with your own. But then we think of a legal challenge very differently. But why? Like, why does all our well-being and our learnings in other aspects of our life go out the window as soon as there's a legal challenge? So I want to be able to draw on the resources and the learnings we have from other areas of our lives so that we can apply them to legal challenges, because it's all life.
It's all connected. It's all connected. And, I grow every day. I experience things every single day. And I agree with you. So 100% as far as when you are faced with a legal situation, which can be and generally is stressful. It's how you react. It's who you are. And that's pretty much how life, you just said life is. This is life. It's who you are being during these circumstances. And, people just, yeah, I love that. So important. And we always grow, especially during challenges, and legal stuff is usually always a challenge emotionally.
That's right.
so many things, financially, emotionally. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
And
powerful.
I mean, you said we always grow. And I think people like you and I do, but I'm not sure generally. Like, I think we surround ourselves by very similar people. And so we are learning and growing. But I'd like to think that, you know, broader, we can start opening people's minds to using it as a growth process. Because I do support a lot of people through litigation and I don't see any learning or growth. And I see a lot of bitterness and resentment. And so I'd like to start changing that mentality. Because as you said as well, like we bring who we are being to something. And I think that if we set our intention to learn from it, and to not harm, and to come through this with integrity, and to be graceful and do it with ease, you know, who we are being then is very different to the victim who is vindictive and just wants to harm someone through the process. Because if you come to something with that attack and harm sort of intention, doesn't it just bounce back on you and just have more of a horrible experience?
Yeah. And it's usually hurt people. So it's usually that, like I've learned to have compassion for people that are mean or angry because they're clearly unhappy and,
Yeah.
so, but you're right about the general public perhaps is not always like this, but that's why it's so important, the things that you and I are doing with our two podcasts and just raising awareness, I love that. And I feel like we are all connected consciously. So, when you're doing good, there's a ripple effect, right? And when I'm doing good, so, the more women the more people we can reach, the better. It's going to help people like open their minds and start to, and that's what podcasts do. I love when I meet somebody. There's a young realtor at my office that posted something in our private group about wanting to learn, wanting to connect with people. She wants to learn so much. And so we've talked, and anyway, but I told her I had a podcast and she's like, oh, I love podcasts. So I immediately think she's somebody that's open to learning and growing because she loves podcasts, right? Most of the podcasts are to learn something, I mean,
Definitely.
you love them. I know you told me you love
I
podcasts.
do.
Yeah, me too.
I'm addicted. I'm
Me
addicted to
too.
podcasts.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than, or an Audible book than, watch TV. I mean, TV has its place, just to like relax and be entertained. But ultimately, I'm addicted to growing and learning and getting better, becoming a
Same.
better
I hear
version.
you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's amazing. And we need to celebrate so tell us, we need to celebrate our wins and our growth, because so often we're always looking at where we want to go and where we aren't, that gap. But how about how far we've come? Like, look what you've created, right? You've created so much. So tell us how you take care of you, like your practices. Do you have a spiritual practice? Do you have a morning practice? Maybe your self-care stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I do. And, this really cemented itself I think, in 2020 with COVID, because didn't it really bring to our attention how much more we have to care for ourselves to be able to keep our resilience going? So, I've always had a great morning routine in terms of exercise and eating well. So, the health side is easy for me. I just ran my first full marathon a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
So,
wow. Good
that
for
was my goal
you.
before I turned 40.
That's amazing.
And so then, I mean, the spiritual really started coming more in 2020. I started studying A Course in Miracles, which I've talked to you about as well. So that's
Yeah.
really important for me. So I do a lesson every day. And now I'm also going to a group every Tuesday night that talks about it too. So that just, is a great little perception shift and being able to dive deeper into that learning. I also do some meditation in the morning. I do some Kundalini yoga here and there during the day. So if I feel myself getting really frustrated, I'll take 15 to 20 minutes and do some chanting, just to shift my energy. So I'm aware of that. And I've always liked to write, but I've never had a consistent journaling practice. But in fact, this year I've been far more consistent. I do a prayer process in the morning with journaling, and pray stands for praise. So you do your gratitude. So you praise a few things. The R stands for resistance, so or regret, but I don't like regret, but it is okay. So what could I have done better? What have I been resisting? A is ask. So ask for what you want for that day, or ask for some, bigger picture things. Yeah. And then Y is yield. So it's a bit more of a surrender. Okay. So now that I've done some gratitude and intention setting, I then surrender the rest of my day to God.
I love that. Oh, that's so good. Where did you get that PRAY? Where did you get that?
It's a book by a guy called Andrew Jobling, who is Australian, and he wrote a book called Tears of Joy, and that's a practice from that book.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, that's a great question. That leads me into the next great question. So who are so you've got A Course in Miracles as one of your books, but what other books and or mentors and do you have inspired you to?
Yes, I mean, lots over time. I mean, we've talked about quite a few of the, the fundamental people. I'm really diving into some of Mandy Morris's work at the moment. She's from the US as well. There's another woman called, just looking at her book now, Lisa Miller, which she was on Kathy Heller's podcast. Her book is just amazing.
What's it called?
It is called The Awakened Brain, and it's about how our brain changes if we are more spiritual.
Ooh, I love that.
Fascinating. Yeah. And I really dive deep into human design, which is another sort of spiritual sort of personality test, a bit like astrology. Yeah. So I consume a lot of stuff around human design. And there's a wonderful woman in Australia called Emma Dunwoody, who is sort of at the forefront of that, and her podcast, the Human Design podcast, surprisingly, is amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've listened to it. Yeah, I enjoy it. Did you pay for any, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, any readings from any human design people?
Yes, I have. I had a human design reading from the girls at Day Luna, who are over in the US. And I did the human design course with Jenna Zoe, who is a UK lady.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have dived a little bit deeper into that stuff. Oh my God, I'm start going down the rabbit hole, and I love getting readings. I had the most amazing numerology reading from a lady over the phone in Australia here the other day. She was so spot on. So that was great. And I've also dived a little bit into Jyotish, which is Vedic astrology. And I've had one reading of Vedic, and I'm getting another one soon.
Oh, that's so awesome. So the human design, what did I want to ask you? What are you? I'm a generator.
So I'm a manifesting generator.
Nice.
I have sacral authority. And so that is, that instant gut decision making. And I'm a 6-2 profile. So, how if you've got 4, 5, or 6 as the first number, the reason you're here is for other people's karma, not your own. So I'm a 6-2. I'm here to help others, not for my own learning.
I think I'm a 6-3. I think I'm a 6-3. I know. And that really amazed me. Because I thought I had karma, my own karma, but I don't. Yeah, same. That's so cool. I love that. And then what is your astrology? I forgot if I asked you that. What is your?
Yes. I am Libran sun.
Okay.
And I never actually felt like I was a Libran. I'm an Aries rising, and I present very Aries. So that then made sense when I worked that out. But then when you think about it, Libra is about balance and justice and relationships. And so, I mean, that's the fundamentals of who I am too. And then my moon is Scorpio. And so I've got that woo-woo.
You got the fire
emotional.
going. Yeah, you got the fire with the Aries and the Scorpio. So I think I don't know if Scorpio's fire. It's definitely I'm Aries sun and then Virgo moon, and then I forget what my rising. It might be Aries again. Might be. But yeah, that's so much fun. I love that stuff and I believe in it. And I really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fun. I don't think it hurts. And I think that if you can find some meaning and acceptance for yourself in these designs, then I think that's helpful, because I think we live our lives shooting on ourselves so much that I should be this or I should be that. But then once you understand, well, actually, this is my design. So my energy doesn't mean that I should be that. My energy is exactly how I'm supposed to experience it. So that's okay. Like, it just helps with some self-acceptance, doesn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes you think you got things from your family, but it's really not. It's like your actual design. It's who you are as a person, and it's wild because I had an astrologer on my show and then we did a live together and I learned so much from her. And I'm in the 12th house and I'm this empathetic person and sensitive. And I always thought, oh my God, my mother would say, you're too sensitive. But it's a thing. I am. It's who I am. So
that's who you are. That's how your energy is and how you're made. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. How can people find you?
Well, I'm on all the places. LinkedIn is a good place if you're, want to professionally connect. Otherwise, it's Facebook and Instagram, just like everyone else.
Okay.
So I have my personal profiles, but if you're on Facebook and Instagram, it's better to find Legally Wise Women, really. And as I said, with Facebook, I've got that free group there. So the free group's called Legal Support for Women. So easy to find.
Beautiful. So good. I love that. I love what you're doing. And thank you so much for this conversation and doing what you're doing in the world. And I love it. And I'm so glad there's people like you out there. That's a beautiful thing. So
thank you. Feelings mutual. And again, just such a pleasure to have these conversations.
thank you.